This is an interview with J. Krishnamurti in Noordwijk, 1968.
Is in a certain way exactly the same as what we are busy about, and in another way it's wholly different.
Entirely right.
So what we want is, in the form of an interview, a kind of, I would say, confrontation. It's a big word. Perhaps a kind of mirroring.
And quite dialogue, quite sensible.
And an interview, you know, for this newspaper, so especially it's meant for young people, and especially for young people who are associated with this Rosicrucian school, but not especially so. We are working also outside. I thought it was better than specific questions to choose some cluster of questions, some themes I would like to talk about. Is about the relation between what you call the mutation, as we see it, it's meant the mutation of an individual, one man, that is me, he or she, or me or you, and a relation between that individual mutation and the history of mankind. What is culture? The development, historical, of people, of in general, of nations, of is there a kind of relation?
I don't quite follow what you mean.
There is some development in culture, in civilization. Development positive or negative, but there is happening with mankind as such. There are developments not so concerned with as persons, individuals, but with
human beings
in general.
And so what is the question?
What is the relation between those development of human beings in general and
the individual?
I
see. Do you think there is such a difference between the individual and the human being?
Yes.
Yes.
Certainly so. No, not one human being.
Humanity.
Humanity.
All right. Humanity. What is humanity? What is it doing? It has had wars. It has had nationalities. It has had various forms of culture. Before the scientific age, there were superstitious religious. They went in for mystery. They worshipped gods, you know. And that went on before science came into being. But after science, there has been certain change. But human beings are just the same. They go to war. They believe in nationalism. They have their own particular religious worships and religious gods, their own separate or non-believers, like communists. So it's more or less the same, which is every individual is made up like that.
So I would interpret that the development of humanity as such has nothing to do with the mutation of the individual. You could mutate in every time and every age.
No.
That's not what you mean.
The individual is the human. The two are not separate.
But when you talk about an age of science, that age of science is of humanity as such. And what you say about superstition beliefs that are still there, you could say that in the individual, the age of science is not yet
born in him. But science is ruling over him. Science is controlling him. The computer is taking charge of man's activities.
So do you think that in this time there is a special chance for individuals to come to this mutation?
I should think so, sir.
But a better chance, for example, than 2,000 years ago?
Oh, I wouldn't say that.
I wouldn't say that. No. I believe we've not quite touched it, but we better let this go. You see, if there is no difference between humanity and individual, which I can accept as such, does it imply that with humanity as such, also there has to be mutation?
Of course, in the human. Human. So the human being is whether he lives in India, America, Russia, or anywhere. But the individual is the local entity. Living in Noordwijk or in Amsterdam or in Calcutta, wherever. He's conditioned in his own peculiar little way, but basically all human beings are conditioned. And his breaking that conditioning is freedom, is liberation, is mutation, deeply.
So, if enough individuals will mutate, civilization will mutate.
Of course, obviously. The minority always pushes the majority.
Well, that's about what I want to do. So there is some relation.
Of course,
of course, but it's difficult to find a form for it. Do you think that in this time, I think especially about youth in Western culture, a vague term, but there is a kind of predisposition, a kind of openness or less closeness for mutation.
Oh yes, it's surely. So you see what the younger generation, they are in revolt. It's
Really?
a revolt in India, in Italy, in France, in England, it's taking place in Romania, in Czechoslovakia, in America. It's taking place everywhere.
It can be a positive.
What do you mean? It is positive. They want it.
Yeah. But there has to be done something about it.
They are doing it. They're going to enter into politics, change politics. They don't want war. They don't feel nationalistic.
So you see the development as a positive development.
It is possible, but I don't know if it is going to materialize. They start out, and I hope it will flower into something.
But anyone who is trying, that's not good, trying to mutate himself, that's not a good formulation, but who is trying to come to the point of mutation, perhaps could do something about his development. I think this is a very positive point, because it gives you a point of view that apart from your own freedom, from your liberation, there is something to do
with the
rest.
Of course.
Perhaps there is another question whose connection is that Mr. Burman have asked about the. Perhaps may I take this question? What conditions in education, in this culture, in Western culture, in education, are favorable to create an open-mindedness, in your sense? Or what conditions are just not favorable, are very dangerous?
Nationalities are dangerous.
Every nationality, also with the small child, to indoctrinate it.
Indoctrinate nations. Motherland, fatherland, and my country and your country, my God and your God. That's obviously a terrible thing.
But there are also things in Western civilization that are not confined to nationalism.
No, I'm just
the technique and the scientific.
I'm just taking that as an example.
I see.
And also, when you separate man, you say he's black, he's white, he's better than this man, that's also
I see.
a destructive thing. And also, this religious separation, class separation. I mean, there's so many things that are destructive.
But you see, there is I would say, a kind of it's a problem that's more on the existential level. The push that comes from science. I mean, the science computers, space travel, and so forth. That is a very push that is very directly comes into our everyday world.
Yes, computers especially.
Is there something to defend yourself or your children for it?
No, sir, I don't see how you can defend it unless, that's the whole point. We have to find out what is the relationship between man and the machine.
So go back to yourself, and not attack the machine, but
don't change the machine. The machine is going to advance more and more and more. But find out if you are becoming also a machine by following people, by having an ideal. How you spend your time.
That's very important.
How you use your leisure. If you want to be entertained or go to football or church or cinema, it's all right going to cinema occasionally, you know what I mean, but to be demanding entertainment.
To become passive.
Yeah, so that you are never alone. You're always belonging to a group, including Rosicrucian or this or that. One must be free of all this.
There is something again. When perhaps it seems a bit of speculation, but when you are in mutation, you're having something.
No. We won't speculate.
No, but I say it seems so.
So it's like saying what is there when you go beyond the hill. Climb the hill and find out. Don't sit here and say what is lies beyond it.
But there is something in me that wants me to climb that hill.
That
wants me to climb that hill.
You go and do it.
Yes? But what I would say there is now, if I'm not climbing yet the hill.
Don't discuss what is beyond it.
I won't discuss it. I won't discuss what's beyond it. But what I want to say in this view is that there now, when I'm not mutated, there is something in me, and I best can say I am that's wanting to climb that hill. And when I become conscious of this, when I become aware of this, then I only have to do is to climb that hill. Perhaps it will be difficult, but I will go and climb that hill.
That's the main thing, is to do it.
But then at the moment I am conscious of it, I make the decision to climb that hill. I know other people will make the decision too. It's something, what you would say, that man and humanity is the same.
So the minority is always pushing ahead. Creates,
of course.
The communist society, minority. So the minority has to climb the hill, not speculate. Not sit here and say, let's discuss what's beyond the hill.
Perhaps I started wrong. My point is, what you are stressing, and what I as such accept completely, is the freeing, the liberation of the individual.
Of man.
Of man. What I say. So, I am, you could think it's speculation, I'm sure it isn't, that a real group of men, humanity, is not yet possible because you are not mutated. So every form of group is a form of binding, you have to liberate yourself.
Absolutely.
But at the same time...
So don't belong to any organization.
Yeah. But at the same time, not at the same time, but there's also the sureness, it's not the right word for it, but you are sure that you will find a real group by finding yourself. No?
Don't bother about the group.
Don't bother about it. Good.
May I interrupt for a moment? isn't it that the group is necessary for a certain part of the development to get loose of the group, to grow out of it?
Therefore you have to have a group.
Yes.
No. It's like, so you're saying, is this...
No, but under the circumstances here, we notice that with our youth, children from 6 to 18,
they need to be in a group.
They need to be in a group, and they need to be
yes,
brought
yes,
in contact with these things every time again.
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
Because as soon as they are gone, they are
lost.
They're followed by everything else. And
so what's the question, sir?
Well, I wondered if it is not necessary for them,
for children maybe.
Children and younger ones.
But so that's why be careful, because once you admit that people need groups,
yes. Yes.
for them to bring up, to meet them,
Yeah.
then you become a slave to the group.
Yes, that's right, I know. Yeah.
I mean, if I belong to any organization, to any,
Yes.
I am lost.
Yes.
Whether it's
But
communist.
only when I'm a child.
And
That's only a child, that's a different matter. But even then, see what happens when you're a child, you're conditioned
yes.
by the group.
But
by
for me, it's necessary to become a child before becoming a man. When I was not born, I wasn't sitting here. So there, in any life, there is a time.
So there is. That's what they have done, sir. Hitler.
Mm-hmm.
He formed a, youth group. And
Yes.
they held.
Mm-hmm.
And what they do, that's what every culture does.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're doing in Russia.
Mm-hmm.
In every country this exists. That the culture shapes the mind.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to break from it. So is it possible to educate them without being conditioned right from the beginning?
Mm-hmm. Is it possible?
I think it is through right education, through criticism, through analysis, through discussion. Of course it is.
That's very important. So you are of the opinion,
No.
not the opinion, damn it. But I would say it the other way around. Many people have the opinion that to become free, you need something to break something away. And you say, if you had the right education,
create, bring about intelligence right from the beginning. You don't want all this.
Yeah.
And that's the function of education.
Mm. So you're not, how do you call it, a dialectic.
No,
So you need antithesis.
I know. That's a good old method. I know, sir.
Mm. Well, perhaps the last thing, we're wondering, at least I'm wondering, when you read books from people who are now dead, or you hear lectures or otherwise hear people who are still living, that there are some people where you get the smell, I would say, the sense of being in touch with reality. What is wondering me is that, as far as I can see, all that people works alone. Do you see it as a consequence of your concept? Do you see it as a consequence of that every man has to free himself as an individual, so he only can act as an individual once he is freed?
Sir, look, sir, what does freedom mean first? I am not free if I free myself from this, from something.
Mm-hmm.
Freedom means freedom,
Mm-hmm.
not from something.
Mm-hmm. But perhaps do something.
But only when you are free you can look.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So don't become conditioned first and then free yourself to look.
when you as a person are free, you won't be 1 second or 1 split second afraid that I or another one from us would take your freedom.
No.
Because you are not afraid.
I'm not fear. You can't take it away.
But when two people who are free are together, they can't take each other's freedom, but that doesn't mean that they can work together at a certain sense.
Of course. Only free people can work together.
Okay.
Not the idealists can't work together.
Mm.
You see, that's one of the problems. Take the whole communist world. They are saying that you must be conditioned.
Yeah.
And there is no such thing as freedom. Freedom is bourgeois.
Mm.
And yet there is revolt going on.
Look at it.
In Czechoslovakia. In Russia, the writers are beginning to revolt. So, you see, that's one of the great difficulties, whether freedom is a reality, in the sense you drink tea,
Perhaps in a more real sense.
in a real sense that, or is it merely a concept, because one is a slave? You understand?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a man in prison is always thinking about freedom as an idea.
When you are free, you won't bother to think about it.
Yeah, you don't bother. You're free.
It is.
Yeah.
But it purely is. It is free.
It is.
Yeah.
But then, my question again, when I meet people, or the works of people, where I smell that freedom, that of a kind of reality, that always, at least when you look historically, there is no form whatsoever of working together. Only free people can work together. But when you smell freedom with people, you don't see them work together, you see them work alone.
Because, wait a minute, first of all, we must both understand what we mean by freedom. You may have a different meaning and I may have a different concept, a feeling of freedom. We only know to work together under compulsion. Or work together for an idea. Or an idea. Or cooperate together in order to run a post office. That's all the cooperation we know. But cooperation means love. And you cannot love without freedom. If you are not free and I am not free, how can we love? If I am married and my wife dominates me or I dominate my wife, there is no freedom, though we talk about love.
But as I still see, I still smell, how do you call it? When a free person lives between persons who are not free, as such he is alone, and he's not alone, but in a certain sense he is really alone.
Of course.
But I suppose, when I smell with different people, those are the freedom. Of you want to put it this way?
I will put it that way.
Yeah.
So if you and I are free, five of us are really free, we'll work together. I won't dominate you. You won't dominate me. We say that has to be done, let's do it. It's not, you don't say, well, I'm superior, I'm inferior, I'll be your boss. We'll do it.
So freedom is acceptance in love.
Yeah, of course. Freedom is love.
Yes.
You cannot love without freedom.
No, but love, is that an essential part of man? I mean, is is it bound to man? Is it a part of him?
No,
is it
sir.
a part of his possibilities, or is it?
No, possibilities. Look, sir, what we call love.
But he cannot keep it.
No,
That's
what
right.
we call love
Yeah.
is full of jealousy, hate,
Yeah.
antagonism. You're mine, I'm yours.
Yeah.
You follow?
Yeah.
So when we are free of all this, there is love.
And then it's one community.
No. You see, you. That's it. First, love and find out. It doesn't matter. Don't speculate about it, you see.
So the moral is just climb the hill.
That's
Well, there are hills enough in this surroundings. Yes, I believe in most ways we are satisfied, to use that ugly word, but I still feel in one respect it doesn't going. I still wonder, and I can only put it in this way, so it may seem to you more speculation than it really is, that under circumstances, under special conditions, people who are not mutated can work together, not in a real sense, but in a provisory way
of course, when you
work
have
together.
After all, when you have to build a house, the people we all work together.
But when you will make conditions for yourself, for your life, perhaps your children, for children yet to be born, better for every individual to free himself, in some society he has more chances.
Of course.
So then it is possible for people to work together in that provisory way and make things better, so the possibility of mutation will grow. But I suppose still you judge a very great risk to make also in this sense companionship.
I think so. The moment you depend on something, you're gone. Psychologically, I depend on the postman, I depend on milk, I depend on the vegetables.
No.
But inwardly, not to be free of all dependence.
At any moment you can refuse the milk or refuse the post.
Unless
You could do it, I mean. I suppose we could go further, but
Basta.
let's make a rounding. Yes?
Okay.
Well, Mr. Krishnamurti, we thank you very
No,
much.
sir.